Hello everybody, this is Wayne from One-on-One Animation. What I'm going to demonstrate here for you is how to turn a scribbled animation drawing into a tie-down drawing. So let me start off with this little character that I have in mind. I'm just roughing out the scribbles right now. I'm thinking animation. I am not thinking drawing. I'm thinking about pose, attitude, and the gesture. So what I'm going to have here is a little character that's running. As I'm going along here, I'm just scribbling in the main features of the character, and this little character is either running from or running to something that's very important to him. Let's call this little character, Pete. So Pete is sitting here running, and here I'm just drawing in roughly the rear leg. There I'm thinking about, the rear arm. But I don't like the way that one looks. Got the forearm coming in, hands, fingers. Just thinking about the pose in a gestural sense, not thinking about drawing. There I'm putting in the rear foot, getting rid of the first gesture. There's his hands. You might be looking at this and wondering, what is he drawing here? What I'm drawing here is called a gesture pose, animation rough gesture pose. There's his other hand stretching out, little shadow under there. And I'll put a little hair on him. He's got it in the design. And he's yelling as he's going along. Here I'm drawing in the pants, the curve, the foot, emphasizing that a little bit more. Now I'm going to put in what is called an animation tie-down, not cleanup. There's two differences. Cleanup is the final line that you will see on the screen done by another artist. This is an animator's tie-down. So let me get started here with the cranium. And you'll see I loosely put it in. Round ball, putting in the shape of the torso. Thinking about shapes now. Now I am thinking more about drawing than animation. Center line, eye line, just a couple of dots for the eyes. That's his design. Eyebrows. Perspective, I'm thinking about the nose coming around. He's got a pretty good honker there. And then he's got a mustache. And now I'm going, because he's running, I'm going to make the mustache hairs flow and express that he is running forward. So I'm going to sweep them back a little bit. And with the cranium, it won't be round. I put a straight there, and then I put a little point on the head. And here, drawing in the ear, and because the design calls for an earlobe, put the earlobe there, which was not in my scribble drawing. And he's got his hair, which is going backwards, flowing backwards I should say, his tuft of his hair and his forehead going back, and that is to emphasize him running forward. As we get into this a little more, here I'm drawing the jawline. And here his mouth is open, and drawing in the mouth, the bottom of it, mustache hairs. This is the shoulder right here, putting in the shoulder, connecting to the arm, using a straight on the top, and there's the cuff. Now the cuff is pointing out towards us, giving us perspective, which makes your character a little more three-dimensional, not so flat looking. I will do the same with the hands. So this hand, his left, is going to be facing us. The reason for this is just to give it more three-dimensional perspective so the character won't look so flat. But I am not tying this down. Now, I didn't like the mouth, what I had gone, so I'm going back to my original scribble drawing, and I like the gesture of the mouth in the scribble drawing, so I'm going to try to capture that in my animation rough tie down. So let me get back to the tie down drawing, and I'm gonna just make it real simple. Open mouth, a little bit of tongue showing there, barely see the bottom lip, and right here drawing the throat and then the inside of the mouth, which gives it perspective and gives it a three-dimensional feel. A little more work on the mustache there, center line for the nose. Now I'm going to start working on Pete's right hand. As you can see, I'm going to move it up. Even though the scribble below was lower, I'm moving it up so I can have a clearer shape and silhouette on it. It makes your drawings more appealing where you don't have as many tangents. So I'm putting in his hand here, and notice that the arm is going away from us, the viewer. Putting in some fingers here. Hands are very expressive. Work on hands are hard to draw, but they're very expressive. Always draw hands. So I'm taking a look at it, put a little stretch on the underarm there, and put in a little coloring on the cuff there. But as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure if the perspective is right here. Anyway, I'll get back to that. No, I won't. I've decided I'm going to work on that right now. Pete's right arm and hand were too far out. So I'm going to make it where in perspective it'd be a little shorter, even though it's going away from us. So let me just draw in the hand real quick here. Expressive fingers. That seems to be working a little bit better. So now I'm working on his torso. So here I'm putting in a stretch on the bottom of his body, and there's his knee, and his knee and leg are going away from us in perspective. The reason for this is, again, to give it a three-dimensional feel. And so I barely show the bottom leg, finish up his shoe right here, and then on this leg, Pete's right leg, I'm going to change the perspective, be going away from us. With that line right there, the cuff of the pant, and the lines that I'm putting down for the angle of the shoe, also show which direction Pete's leg is going, which with this arrow indicates it is going away from us. Now there's no steadfast rule on this. Putting in the front of the belly, decided to put a little coat on Pete here. Have a little bit of drag, put in a little collar, little buttons, and we're getting there. He's starting to become a rough tie down. Okay, as we go along here, I'm just touching up a couple things, but what I want you to understand is that the scribble is really just your shorthand. It's sort of like taking notes if you're a reporter, just a shorthand. And once you get your scribbles to animate right, then you can go back in and do the tie down. Now, as you spend more time animating, of course your drawing's going to improve and you won't need to scribble as much. But I highly recommend this for beginners. It just changes everything, because I notice the main problem that beginners have is they're thinking much more about drawing than they are about animating. And as you can see, here's the scribble and here's the tie down. You can see the difference right there. What I did was I did move the hands and I extended and shifted things here and there to make the pose a little stronger, but that's okay. I knew with the first initial scribble pose that I had something to go off of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you different styles of a scribble test. Like, I have seen people who will work as rough as this, and it's perfectly fine. There's no steadfast rule in it, and their animation just comes out unbelievably beautiful. There are other people who will, they put more drawing into their initial first passes, and here's another example. People will draw light shapes, and from there they'll just build on top of it, right on top of the same drawing. A lot of times what I do is I'll do a scribble and I will then just rub it down with a kneaded eraser, and I still have that gesture drawing underneath. So I hope all of this helps.